I always wanted to be a filmmaker, and eventually I went to the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, and it was there that I started taking portraits for the school. And when Betty Davis came, I leaned down to take her portrait, and she said, "What the F are you doing shooting from below?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm doing." And she said, "Well, if you can drive a car, I can teach you about photography." And I drove her around for a week, and she really introduced me to large format, to people like George Hurrell, and all of the kind of classic Hollywood portrait shooters. And she talked about lighting and why a certain light would be placed to fit her face. And I really was learning from the legends. Bring your chin up slowly. I'm a large format portrait photographer, and that means that I work with a very large camera and negative. Ready. Little warmth, a little twinkle. There it is. And I shoot very few images during a portrait session, anywhere from 3 or 4 to maybe 8 at the most. And it really forces me to think about what I want out of this portrait session. If you're going to be a portrait photographer, you have to be able to be sensitive to your subjects. From the moment the person walks into my studio, I am observing him or her. I'm trying to get a sense of his nervousness, her nervousness. I'm trying to read that person. So by the time he or she is sitting on the set, there's a rapport between the two of us, there's a comfort level, and I think that shows in the portraits. About 10 years ago, I was in my studio in New York having lunch with Nobel laureate Toni Morrison, and she said, "Let's do a book on black divas." And it got me thinking. It was really a spark for what became the Blacklist. Eventually it became Sundance Film, an exhibition that traveled all over the country to museums, and a book. And it was a way also for me to combine my portraiture and my interest in film. With the success of the Blacklist, we were approached to do the Latino list, and when that became a reality, we started to think about other groups and did the Out list, and then the Women's list, and then finally the Trans list. What runs through all of these list portraits and films is a look at minority cultures, but looking at achievement and struggle and accomplishment. I didn't want to do a kind of woe is me on African Americans or Latinos or gay people. It was really about the tremendous accomplishments and the tremendous struggles as well. I'm often asked, what's your favorite image? And it's an impossible question, because each of these portraits was an experience, was a time with someone special, and I look back at those as unique moments in my life. I think the print is more relevant than ever, in a sense, because it's a way to step out of the world of digital imagery that we see all day long, that the print exists in its own space. To make a fine art print, to frame it, to hang it on the wall, to make something special of it is extremely important and has longevity. I've always loved the matte fine art type papers. That's what I would choose. But in the past, the blacks weren't right, the colors were just a little bit off. I was never fully satisfied. With the legacy fiber paper, I finally found the D-Max that I was looking for. And that was something that was extremely important to me, and you can see it in these portraits. My colors are very natural and they're very specific to the person. So this paper really was able to show that beautifully. As an artist, you think about your legacy and you want your work to be as permanent and long-lasting as possible. As a photographer, if I look back at my work, the prints are my legacy.